Thank you very much for inviting me here. It's sort of quite an unusual event for an existing pump storage operator, but I thought it was a good opportunity to actually sort of talk through some of the issues from the other side of it. And this is really clearly there are huge challenges in getting storage built, but even once you've got it built, these are the sorts of issues that I've got 2 or 3 slides that we can talk through and ask questions as we go. Effectively getting the thing built is one issue, and then actually ensuring an income stream and the assets continuing to operate going forward is also another challenge. So my role is I look after the commercial contracting for First Hydro Company, part of GDS Suez Group. So I look after principally Denoic and Ffestiniog, and that is involved in all the sort of contractual relationships to do with not only transmission but with actually selling services. So the assets we've got are Denoic, which is the largest pump storage in Western Europe. Commission is fairly new relative to some of the other stations. 1983, so it was actually commissioned and first running shortly before privatisation. Privatisation in 1990, which is when I joined the company, and effectively it's a massive scheme. It's rough. It can output fully loaded in an emergency situation roughly 2,000 megawatts. Its nominal capacity is 1,728 megawatts. We actually have connection capacity less than that, so that's the sort of nameplate output. We've got quite high storage. We've got 10 gigawatt hours of storage, and a couple of years ago we actually increased that to roughly 11. And what we did was we put a small rubber rim on the top of the dam, which effectively enabled us to deliver more storage because the dams tend to be sized because of wave crests. So actually we've got 11 gigawatt hours roughly. Ffestiniog, much earlier station, and this was built 1963. It's gone through 2 or 3 re-engineering exercises where effectively the plant's being taken apart and rebuilt again over its 50-year life. It's 360 megawatts against 4, so it's got 4 units there and 6 at Denoic. 1.3 gigawatt hours of storage. So it's actually Ffestiniog is a very good station for delivering lots of very fast services. Denoic has sort of the energy punch in terms of the actual duration. So we operate in the existing electricity market. We get no favours from National Grid. It's nothing special. We're actually a commercial operator. We compete against coal units, against gas units, against all comers. Effectively, there's nothing special about storage. There's no subsidies in the real world where we are here. So the services we operate in, frequency control services. So this is Droop Energy, this is maintaining the system frequency at 50 hertz. And again, we have a bunch of contracts that we can take a part in, and there are some where we just operate as any other generator. And National Grid, and it's on their website, they invite tenders for various services for frequency control, and basically they compare that against the alternate cost of buying it from the market. If it's cheaper, then they'll buy it from an individual. Sometimes it's us, sometimes it's coal units, but very much a competitive market. We deliver a lot of services there. We're actually quite good at it. In terms of reserve services, so this is 5, 10, 15 minute, 20 minute reserve. This is, if the system frequency dips after it's been recovered, we'll then come in with some units. Again, some of those will be done on bids and offers in the balancing mechanism, and the grid operator will have a choice of us, or store or demand, or other gas units. So actually, again, it's an open market, it's transparent. National Grid have a website, they publish everything on there. And so it really is a very open market, and it's a competitive market, grossly very competitive. The other area we operate is peak lopping services, and this is basically trading, so we'll buy overnight, and we'll sell our energy during the day with a cycle efficiency. And again, that is just literally looking at the differential, and clearly we're starting to see some helpful signs when there's a lot of wind on the system. We tend to find the overnight prices are coming down, and then we can the cycle efficiency becomes quite good. A lot of the time it's not like that, so you get a few days where you can actually see some decent differentials, or other time it's not. So all these services, competitive, you know, it's a hard world. Sometimes we're actually successful in some of these services, other times we're not. And again, you know, on the National Grid websites, there you can see our tenders, all the prices are published. Sometimes we get accepted, sometimes we don't. Sometimes others get accepted because there's only a finite requirement for them. So it's very much a you know, commercial world out there tendering hard, trying to cut our costs, trying to get our price for delivering these services down such that they can be cheaper than the National Grid's other alternatives. Going forwards, storage is clearly in a unique position to help manage some of the issues with intermittent generation. And this is not really about storing the energy. You know, we don't have the capacity to store energy. We tend to find once we've got a wind and anticyclone coming through, you know, it'll last for 2, 3, 4 days. We tend to cycle our energy once a day, sometimes a little less, but there's no way we could hold enough energy for 2, 3, 4 days of generation. You know, it's just not that sort of volume quantities. So the sort of when we're helping with intermittent, it's really around the wind cut-off. So if it's too windy, then you end up with wind turbines coming off, and then we can manage those, as well as the sort of disruption, because the wind is clearly, you know, as it blows more in different parts, it's not as predictable as gas-fired generation. So clearly, those are issues where fast storage, which is what we've got, can do that. Looking forwards, there's clearly EMRs coming along. There's a bunch of changes to do with how the market will operate. Some of those are less relevant to storage. Some of those are actually quite relevant to them. So I've got a slide later on about the capacity mechanism, and there's some challenges in there. Hopefully they'll be overcome in order to put storage on the same footing as it currently is. And I think the sort of my sort of key point here is that, you know, storage, as it operates for us, will not want to be advantaged or disadvantaged compared to other options. It just needs to be treated in a sensible, reasonable manner. So the next slide, it's quite busy, so I'll sort of go through it slowly. And this is, when I was putting together the slides, I was in the office on the 2nd of January, and there was another storm coming through, and we've had lots and lots of these storms coming through this winter. And this just tries to show how our 10 units have been operating during this period, and the sort of various services we deliver. So if I come around the front there so I can see the row. So this axis here is about 4 or 5 hours. So this is the peak on the day. So it goes from about 3:30 down to about across to 7 o'clock in the evening. So this is an evening peak. And we can see this is 300 megawatts up here, and these are individual generating units at Dinorwic, which is 300 megawatt size. So you can see we've got one unit here that's providing frequency response. So this is very dynamic, very fast. We can deliver 170 megawatts of frequency response in 10 seconds. So as the system frequency falls, which is the bottom one here, you'll see these units pick up really strongly and deliver 170 megawatts very fast. So what happened here is it's a typical incident. The frequency drops, so the Dinorwic unit picks it up very quickly, 10 seconds. Then the grid operator instructed some reserve services. So that's what these blips are coming up here. So reserve energy, and then another reserve energy boost, and then another one, and then some more energy boosts here. And these are actually just dispatching 10-15 minute lumps, very fast energy. It's on in 2 minutes, delivering fast reserve. And then this block here is effectively traded energy, and this is peak lopping. So this unit would have come on, traded in the market, come on from about 1600, 300 megawatts, runs flat out, comes off just after the peak at 1600, I think, 1700. So those are the sort of 3 key services we deliver. So what I did with that is I actually took off a whole bunch of other things that were going on that day, and the smaller chart here actually shows you what really was going on. If you add back the units, we actually weren't delivering here one unit, we were delivering 1,000 megawatts of peak lopping across 3 units. We actually had 2 units delivering frequency response here, and then down at the bottom we can see these are the smaller Festiniog units. As soon as we actually got into difficulty at the bottom here, the grid operator instructed 3 units on there and held them on frequency response for the rest of the evening. And that's the sort of services we deliver, you know, very fast. As soon as the incident started at this end, you know, we're delivering energy. Again, the competitive with these, some of these will be delivered in the balancing mechanism, some of those will be delivered via contracts, but the acceptance of those contracts is because the grid operator took a view that they were cheaper than buying them optionally. Any questions on the slide? So my last slide is really just talking a little bit about the capacity mechanism. So one of the challenges for storage going forward is, you can see from the earlier slide, clearly the Denoic and Festiniog and any other storage has limited storage. So once it's gone, effectively during the day. The fundamental design of the capacity market stroke mechanism it's a delivered energy model. So basically, the capacity is designed on the delivered energy basis. So if there's a stress event, you only get you're there to deliver energy when a stress event is called, when the difficulty happens. And what we see with the way that storage is used, because it's fast and it can come on quickly, it actually is used normally ahead of a stress event. So as soon as the grid operator is starting to sense there may be an issue, first of all we see the frequency response units coming on, then we see the reserve units coming on, then we see the traded units coming on, effectively in the trading market, to try and avoid the stress event ever happening. So one of the issues for storage is because there's always a 4-hour notice of a stress event given. Once the 4 hours has ticked out, you then become exposed to non-delivery payments. And one of the challenges for storage is, if it has been heavily used before you get to that 4-hour point, potentially it gets exposed quite heavily to non-deliver penalties because the energy's run out, because it's been running to stop the stress event happening. So that's a real challenge. We've been working in the various with DEC and with the various industry groups to try and bring out these issues, but it has been quite a challenge, because the fundamental is they're trying to put in a capacity mechanism to deal with an energy delivered model when a stress event happens. So there's quite a challenge in this area. So what we are hoping is that as part of the consultation, and we've been putting responses going through, it's really key to whether storage will be able to participate in the capacity mechanism. If you don't take account of the energy limit, it'll be very hard for it to actually be on the same commercial footing as other generation sources, which is what we are at the moment. So if you end up in the situation of storage not being able to take part of it because it's going to be exposed to these sorts of penalties, it's no longer on the same financial footing as existing market players, the thermal units, the gas units, which does cause a difficulty going forward. Because at the moment, we've always tried to, where possible, make sure that storage is treated identically to other units. So that's a message that hopefully that DEC will take on board as they work through the rules. We've proposed a possible solution to this, which is basically saying, in order to make sure we are delivering capacity, 4 hours of generation tends to cover the winter peak. If you have 4 hours of storage capacity, you would be able to cover quite happily a winter peak event. But actually, the way storage tends to use it is that 4 hours is used up before you get to the difficult point, which is why effectively we're trying to advocate that in the capacity mechanism rules, storage should take account not only of the stress event, but what's happened prior to the stress event, in order to not disadvantage it. So I think that's my 4 slides.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.